Hey guys, it's me, Arcade Trauma here. So this will be part 2 in my how to make Breakcore and Renoise guide, and all this episode is just going to be on how to place down your break slices and how to get a general rhythm. It's not going to be anything too complex, but I will go over key techniques and also typically how you want to build up your break slices to make a good rhythm or just to make your break sound a bit nicer. So to start off with, if you watch the first episode or if you don't know anything about Renoise, like if you don't even know what you're looking at, go watch the first video. I explain the whole UI. I explain all the basics you need to know, but just for now, let's get into it. So now we have a break slice loaded like we did last episode. All the break beats are arranged. Should be fine, yeah. So we have all our break slices, we know what our hits are, and now all we have to do is place them in the tracker. So to start with, there's two main things you need to do obviously before you start. Obviously you need to hit record if you want to hit place your notes, but also the main one is you want to have a highish BPM. Now, I think the lowest breakcore track I've made is 170, 175 BPM, and I always regret it because I always think it's really slow. I would say a really good starting point is 180. I've done so many songs at 180, but when you want to do more aggressive and more really complex and faster paced breakcore, you should be looking at going over 200. But for the purpose of a tutorial, 180 I think is a perfect BPM just to get like the motion or the form of your break slices in. So as we see here, we've got the whole break beat. Now, looking at the break beat, we can break this all down to certain bits because obviously it just looks like a waveform, but when we get into like the nitty gritty of it, there's very explicit things that we can look at here, and that is the components of what is a break. Now, what that means is that how is a break played? You know, is it just random drum hits? It's not. It's mainly based around the kick and the snare. So as we listen, I want you to hear all the kick drum notes and all the snare hits inside of it. So as it's being played, we notice that the kick and the snare is the main general rhythm. And really, it's just the hats, or in this case, in this break, the closed hats, the tiny hats in between the kicks and the snares. They're what like form the break together. So all we need to do now is we need to change this break chop into a different kick snare pattern with the hats. We just need to rearrange it a lot, and that's really what breakcore is. It's about rearranging and like changing the waveform in a way that it sounds complex. So to make a start, let's just look at our track editor. So we see here in between each line there is 0, there's 04, there's 08, and there's 12, 16, 20, all multiples of 4, and there's 4 lines per beat. Now that means that if I put a kick on every single, I'll just do it quickly. If I put a kick on every single beat, now if I do that, that is basically that is the BPM. We're doing 180 beats per minute, but because it's breakcore, we want to do a lot more faster. So what we want to do is we want to move the rhythm of the break slicing around on the beat, because the thing is with breakcore is you can do breakcore off beat really well, but as a beginner, I think it's crucial that you think about playing to the beat of a song, and trying to get that rhythm together. So for example, let's just add a few snares in between. Let's just hear what it sounds like. You know, we've kind of got that rhythm there because it's kick, snare on the offbeat, and then the kick is back on the beat. So you can kind of see we want that rhythm there. And the best way to do it in Renoise is base it around the beat. Now, when you're doing break chops on the beat, let me just clear this. When you're doing break chops, you can either put a kick or a snare on the beat. Now, I very, very rarely put an open hat or closed hats on the beat because I always like to have that kick rib and kick snare to be the main part of the beat. I want that part to be showing the most because really, when you do breakcore, the flavor of the breaks is from the snare mainly, and the kick and the crashes. The hi-hats really just gel it all together. So now I've explained a little bit of the theory of how to make a break beat or chop a break beat, let's say. Let's actually do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a kick on the first part, and I'm going to play through the notes. I'm going to see which notes I like, and now I can hear this A sharp, and if I go back here and I take my recording off, I can see this is quite a wide note, but I can look, if I look further, I can see this one here is a bit better than the A sharp. Or, well, actually, I think, no, the A sharp is fine. The A sharp is fine. So what we'll do is, I want it to be like a kick and an open hat, and a kick again. So now we kind of got a start of it. Let's try it with the other one. That's a lot better. So if we go back to this one's a lot better. This hit. This is the hit we're looking for. Something that can bring it together. Because these hits are kind of too small and they're not generating the gap because it's this between this beat and between this number 3, it's not enough air between it. So we'll use this G part. We use G sharp on the higher octave, which is further along the break. So we kind of got a rhythm there. So what we can do now is we can drop another kick. So it's just kick, open hat, kick, snare kick. Now we've got a little rhythm here. So now we're trying to throw the snares in on the offbeats. So what we'll do now is we can start using the closed hats. So let's listen. So what I've done here is, in between each beat, there's 3 notes because we're using 4 lines per beat, as you see up here where my mouse cursor is hovering over. So as we play it, now what that is I'm playing the triplet in between the kicks, or the beats, sorry, and it's got this little rhythm here. So if we look here, sorry, if we play the beat as it, let's not do that, sorry, let me explain it in a different way. So I'm basing the rhythm around the kick here, the kick here, and the snare on the offbeat. But what I'm doing now is I'm turning this kick on the beat to a snare on the next beat. But to join that over, I'm using these closed hats, which in particular are this E1, this G1, and I think I'm using that one. I'm just using a selection of the open hat or the closed hats that I have available. And you can see how it's got that swing to it. So like now what I'll do is, so let's play it again. And now I can probably insert a couple of kicks. This is just me thinking what would go well next. So now I'll add a snare. And really, there's a lot of theory behind it, but really it's just about kind of feeling it. So all I'm doing is really I'm just using the kick and the snare and the kick at the end here, but it's got that cool little rhythm. Now it sounds pretty empty kind of, but that's only because it's just a break. There's nothing else going on. There's no pads, there's no melody, there's no rave stabs, there's no hardcore kicks. You get the point. So let's analyze it again. So we're going kick on the beat, and on the off beat, which is between each beat, I should mention, we're going for that open hat. Now we've got a kick and a snare. So the kick and the snare is like our bread and butter of the rhythm, on and off the beats only. And here we go kick, and now I want to switch it on to snares being on the beat. So I'll use a snare at the end with a triplet of closed hats, and then we go kick, kick, snare. So now I'll do another kick, kick, snare, and then I'll do the same again. I'll think, how do I want to get this back? And now, if we think about it, if it's 64 patterns to a bar, we could probably just copy and paste this and just see what it sounds like as a full bar. Just as an example, you shouldn't really be doing this. When you make breakcore, you should make it always as varied as possible. But just as a showcase, let's listen. So, really, to be honest, we haven't really done that much. All we're doing is dropping kicks on the beat and snares on the off beats and sometimes on the main beat. But we're really just adding that kick pattern in, like the boom, 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 boom. So like boom, 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 and then we do another boom, boom here. Where is it? Oh no, sorry, it's up here. I got it's here. But really, it's just about exploring. Now, another thing you can do is if we just clear this and we try again, if we could go kick, open hat, kick, open hat. So it's, and I like to do this a lot with the start of my breaks. I always like to do kick, open hat, just to get that little rhythm started. And then I'll focus a lot of things around, let's say, the snare, for example. So really, it's a pretty basic pattern. I'm at the end. I'm just doing kick snares in different orders. I'm doubling up the kicks, or optionally, if I'm doubling up the kick of the kick, so it's like snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, snare. But optionally, I could do it this way. I could do kick, kick, snare. Oh, sorry, snare, snare, kick, snare, snare, kick, snare. And really, it's just about seeing what pattern do you like to use with your kicks and snares. But really, what the point I'm getting across is, although I'm not using a lot of the hats, it seems really complicated because I'm throwing the kicks and the snares in patterns with each other. So let's do a bit more of a complicated break rhythm now. So what we'll do is, we'll do kick, kick, snare, and then we'll start throwing the hi-hats into another kick, snare, kick, kick, snare. And then we'll do the same, and we'll throw in some more hi-hats. And then instead, what we can do is we could just do on the offbeat, but instead let's see what happens if we just do only kicks in between the beats. So now we have like a little rush, per se. now we can do build-ups now, because we can do one snare on the beat, one off the beat, and then we can do a rush. So what does this sound like? And now we can keep going and make the pattern even longer. So what I'm doing now is, the second pattern starts with a snare, where at the start of the whole pattern starts with a kick. So now I'm doing the second half of the pattern, where I do a snare, the open hat on the offbeat, kick, open hat, snare, doing my hi-hats, and now what I'll do is, I'll do kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare. So like what I'm doing is, I'm doing the same rush, except instead of just using the one hit, I'm using, I'm shortening the times in between the kick and snare rhythms. I'm adding them together in conjunction with the rush. Because like I said, with breakcore and breakbeat genres, the kick and the snare is like your bread and butter. That's all your rhythm. So what I'll do now is, I'll drop a kick, and I'll end with a little snare rush while I do a kick, hi-hats, kick, hi-hats. So let's listen to what this whole rhythm sounds like now. I'll put it on repeat, and let's just listen to it a couple times. Now, I think this part at the end sounds kind of messy. So what I'll do is, I'll add a snare instead of a kick, hi-hat triplet, and then a kick, hi-hat triplet. So let's do it again. So that sounds better. So now let's experiment, just as a showcase. This is 180 BPM, but what happens if we turn it to 220? We see it's more complex. It sounds more breakcore-y. So another good way to conceptualize breakcore is when you see a chop like this, or when you do a chop. And a thing that helped me learn a lot on thinking about patterns was, when I did a chop, I would write the chop down on a pattern, and I would go to the sampler, I'd put it on repeat, and I'll just watch, and you can see, actually, when you chop a breakcore pattern, you can play it back to yourself, and you can see what it looks like being played in real time through the little orange lines that bounce between the slices. So let's have a look. So we can see how it's going backwards and forwards between the first kicks and snares, but all the other hi-hats around the break. And really, I could honestly just use slices 1 to 7, or 1 to 8, sorry. I could just use this, and I could do it basically all as it is, with the exception of not having the open hat, but because the open hat's like here. But and you might be thinking, well, how have you just rushed all that? How do you know where all your slices are? And you know, like how could I recognize immediately what to click for a hat, for example? And that's just the thing, when you start doing breakcore and stuff, or when you start chopping a lot in Renoise, you notice a pattern amongst a lot of break beats, and it's usually, it starts with a kick, a break beat that you're going to be chopping, like a break sample, like a think break, or an aim and break especially. It usually starts with a kick, open hat, snare, and then a triplet of hi-hats or closed hats. And as you learn more and as you experience break practice like I have done just here, you'll learn that, like, you'll learn where you'll learn how to look through your keyboard as you're playing live, and you'll learn, oh well, like let's say if I just delete this pattern here, I'll learn that when I'm doing a kick and I'm looking through here like I did at the start, I'm looking for that open hat, and I'm thinking like, hey, that doesn't sound right, so I'll revisit it and I'll go through and I'm like, that one sounds a bit more airy, and I can hear it then, and then I can start thinking, and I can start like getting my patterns together. Now, this is obviously done from years of experience, but it's really just a showcase of, it doesn't have to be overly complex, your breakcore. That can come with time. At the start, just get used to making, a bit of complex jungle type break chops. Don't rush into, thinking, I've got to do some crazy breakcore. I've got to mash it up. Don't think that way. It takes time. It takes, effort to learn how to put all of it together. If you're starting out, so the best way I could honestly say to learn is just make little break beats like these. Chop it up. Find a break you like the sound of. Throw it into your sampler, and then what you should start doing is thinking, well, you know, um, let's start trying to make some break chops. How can I use the kick and the snare for the main rhythm, from the beat and the offbeat, or rushes, and then how can I use the hi-hats in between it? And it just takes time. But I have a very specific way of chopping, and I've just shown you it. I only like to use, really, I only like to use my, sorry, give me 1 second. I only like to use my hi-hats in between the kicks, or on the beats. I don't like to use them off, like on the beat and stuff like that, and that's just the way I figure it out. But there's a lot of possibilities, and really it's just about experimenting and searching through your keyboard and looking at it. But this is just more of an like, it's not really something you can strictly learn. It's more of something you pick up. But what I tried to do this episode was show you that you can pick up a kick and you can pick up a snare and you can base a lot of the rhythm through that, because that is the flavor of breakcore. That is the flavor of what you want it to sound like. You want it to sound really nice and hard and stuff. And the only other thing you can do when you're starting out is just practice. It's just a lot of practice. It takes time. You're not going to become Venetian snares. You're not going to become Gorshit. You're not going to become Rotator, Tech Diff. You're not going to become all of these breakcore legends or big names simply just from one day of using Renoise. This shit takes time. So, just to end off quickly, I'm going to go through what kind of effects you can use. So I've talked about a lot of what notes you can place, like into your slicer. So if I just quickly make a breakbeat. Let me just quickly chop a little breakbeat as an example. So if I just take this, I'm going to half it just because I don't want to make it too big. I'll just do that, make it less messy. So now we have this. That's our breakbeat. So now we've got our like little half pattern breakbeat. Let's just look at how we can make this a bit more spicier. How can we make this cooler? So one of the main things in breakcore especially is the use of pitching. Now pitching is a massive thing in breakcore for the snares mainly. The effect that pitching a snare can have on breakcore is unbelievable, and really it can make or break your entire breakbeat if you want to base it that way. So let's see, how would we pitch, for example? How would we pitch anything here? So let's just mute this column quickly. We don't want to lose our breakbeat, but let's just drop a snare in on each beat. So now we've just got a few snares. So now we want to affect the break column, or we want to add an effect to this. Now, with Renoise, there's a lot of effects you can do, but one thing that I mainly use is the pitch commands. Or I used to. I don't really so much now, but that's a thing for a whole other episode because I use one shots mainly now. But with slicing a loop, the way we can apply a pitch is we can see here we've got the note column here, which is 1/2, but here we've got an extra 4 bars, and you might have thought from the first episode, you know, what is this effects column? What use is it? So what we do now is we can use pitch effects. So we can use U on the third one. Don't use it on the right because it won't have an effect, I don't think. I've never actually tried it. I don't think it does. If we put the up one, or in fact, let's do it like this. If we put one on every other one, now what we can do is we can put a value of 1. Now the values of, if I'm right, it's in hexadecimal. So all you need to know is between 0 and 80 is from 0 to 50%. So if you want to pitch it up by 50%, a note, you have to go to 80. So let's just start off with 10, 2, 3, 4. And let's listen to how the snare changes. It sounds kind of funky, right? Sounds weird. So what we'll do now is, let's just restart this. So now what we can do is, if we up pitch, we can do 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can also down pitch. So the command is D, 0, 0 or XX. So we've got D as the third one, and then whatever your values are. And we've got U for up pitching, and D is for down. So let's see how it sounds now. So now we've got. Now we can see how it sounds. But you might also be thinking, you know, you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, but you can put anything in there, and that's right. You can go 2, 4, 6, 8, or you could do 2, 6, 4, 8. So now we have like a funky rhythm. It doesn't really sound very good, but in the context of a breakbeat, it can sound very good. So let's just delete this. That's just an example, and now let's apply it to this break. So let's listen to the break again. So that's our break. So we have a kick, open heart, snare, kick, and then we have 3 snares. So what we can do here is we could up pitch one, let's say by 2. We can up pitch one by 4. Oops, sorry, misclick. We can do up by 4, and then we can do this one by 6. Now let's just see how it sounds. And yes, you can do a 66 or any value, but it's best just to stick around whole digits, or digits you can go up by an X amount. So let's listen. So already we've got like a little rhythm, but I don't like the way that sounds, so I'll repeat it. And what I'll do is I will start with an up pitch of 5. I'll keep the middle one as its own, and I'll down pitch the next one by 5. So it's up 5, normal, then down 5. Now it's like boom, boom, boom. So now we've got that little rhythm, which is cool, right? So now we can do this again, but now we see we have a snare roll at the end. So we think, what can we do to make that better? Now you could do an up pitch, like we can do 6, 8. So now we have like a big uprising, like a rise, like an up pitch rise snare roll, like that, like this cool effect. This, or we could down pitch it, which is cool. And one technique personally that I use a lot with Breakcore is I will down pitch by a factor of 1, and I'll hit the down pitch after. And now what this does is, if I just use a separate track, we can see here, if I down pitch by 4 and 8, oops, sorry, that's not even work. We can hear how it goes down. But what we can do instead is, if we down pitch by 1 and we drag the down pitch to the next beat, what happens is, if you keep adding the down pitch command with zeros in, it continues the effect of the first note. So in theory, you'd think, well, down pitching by a value of 80 would be a lot more than 1. But when we carry it on by 4 extra effect columns, let's see how it sounds. So now it's got that more dragged effect. So if we put it by 40, we can hear like the different types of sounds it might bring. Now I know that sounds pretty, like, you know, it sounds like it's a slow down a thing. So what happens if I do it by 1 here? So let's do the same, 60. So I know 60 sounds good there. So what I'll do is, because I know I'm ending on like a downwards pitch, I'll end by 60 like this. So now it's going down by 20, 40, 60, 80, and then I want it to do that slow down effect, kind of. So let's listen to what it sounds like now with a pitch. And you can do the same with just up pitching as well. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're keeping this down pitch at the end. It still sounds cool. It's like the pitch is going everywhere with the snare, and really that's all it's about. You know, it's the way you use an effect on the snare, which is like the flavor. And like you've seen there, you can do it with a kick. You know, in fact, I could just take out this open hat and put it down by a value. I usually just use 1 because I feel like 1 gives a slow enough one. But here, in this case, let's use 60. And we've got like a cool little rhythm here. So, really, when you're starting out with Breakcore, your homework, let's say, is just try and do some of these break beats and try and add the up and down pitch effects and see what kind of rhythms you can make. And it's always important to remember, don't place notes randomly. Place them on the beat, place them on and off beat, and place them all in the triplets, you know, the 3 beats or the 3 lines between the beat. Now, and try and experiment with that. Try it with different breaks. This break doesn't have a very good sounding snare for pitching, in my opinion. You know, there's other breaks out there that I think have better sounding snares. Although it sounds good on its own, I don't think it sounds good when it's up at a higher pitch or down a pitch. So try and mess around. But the basic point I'm trying to make here is the outlying point is this is just an exercise demonstration for how to chop break beats, and there's no explicit way you should or shouldn't do it. It's all about how you learn. But the way I chop breaks and the way I think it works in Renoise is very based around the beat. Now, it doesn't mean you have to do it, but it really helps when you do, because when you do, it's a very good guideline. And this is more of an advice to a beginner. So, as you start out, just mess around and see what you can do. And you can use this video for reference. You know, if you're struggling, you think, well, grab the same break, find a CW Amen Classic pack. You know, if you're struggling to find Amen break packs, just Google it, free Amen break pack. You'll find it. A classic one is Breakcore is not a good way to get laid. It's got plenty of great breaks in there that are very good, even used at all levels. You can find great break samples there, and just have a mess around and see what you can do. Of course, comment about the video if you got any questions. But yeah, that's basically it. This is just a very basic tutorial so far. We can go in a lot more in depth when we go into the next episode, where we increase the amount of lines between the beat, which is the LPB factor here. But I'll talk about that next episode, and we can start talking about how to get more chaotic and more breakcore like. But yeah, I hope this video has helped you. And of course, don't be dissuaded. Just keep practicing. It takes time. It took me a solid 2 months, maybe a month, until I got like a break beat where I thought like, yeah, you know what, I like this. I like how I've chopped that. It takes time. It's practice. It's all practice. But yeah, I hope this video has helped you, and I hope you have fun. I hope you have fun chopping breaks. All right, thanks for watching. Bye now.